Sorry for the delay. I didn't know I was supposed to come right now. First of all, I wanted to let you all know I'm wearing this for Mickey. Okay. Today, we're here to honor my friend Mickey Lee. practiced this like 50 times. The impact he had on my life is immeasurable. Friend, mentor. First time I ever even heard his name, before I met him, it was from one of my mentors. But the way the person said his name, it was like, "Do you know Mickey Lee?" I was like, "Who's this guy? You know, why is it so important that I know this guy?" And it wasn't too long after that we actually did meet. So we connected and we had a meeting. It was about a potential to do some business together. You know, it was just business. But when I met him, I found out that everything that people were saying about him was true. You know, he was definitely a pillar of our industry, but everybody also said that he was just a super nice guy. And I think you all know that. At the time, this is about 15 years ago, and at that time I was about 46 years old. He had to be around 63. And I don't know, the difference in our age was about as apparent as the difference in our height. He was so much wiser and calmer and cautious than me. We were very different people. He was already an industry leader by the time we met. He didn't really have anything to prove to me at all, but he still decided that we were going to work together. He was going to come out of retirement, so to speak. I don't think he ever really retired, but... And the next 14 years was incredible. He changed the way I thought about what I did. He helped me to be a better trainer. For 14 years, he worked tirelessly in this industry. He did way more than I ever did. I wouldn't do the work, not like he did. He sat on committees, he wrote manuals. He was a major contributor to the very standards that our industry looks at for the right way to do things. I mean, this was the guy. I always liked the way he introduced himself to people. I don't know if you all ever noticed this about Mickey, but it was always the same when he met new students and new people. He would almost rush you, and he'd throw his hand out, and he'd look you right in the eye, and he would just go with a big smile, "Mickey Lee." He had this energy about him. That friendship that developed out of that was rare. He was smart. He was funny. He was humble. He always made you feel important. We laughed a lot. I mean, we laughed a lot. I mean, we gave each other a hard time. We ribbed each other. We challenged each other. But we developed a bond that you can only develop over a long time and with a lot of shared experiences. He was always diligent. He was always accurate. He always wanted to do it right. He kept writing his manuals even after they were long done. He kept honing his presentations even though there was really nothing else he needed to do. But if he learned something new, then he wanted to teach that something new to his students and to all of the people that he consulted with. His students really respected him. There's some of them in this room right now. And it wasn't just because he was smart and he knew his stuff. It was because of the way he taught, the way he listened. It was because of, he made you feel passionate about the science of our craft, which is hard to do. I mean, it's moisture. But he did it. And even when class was over, he still made himself available to every student, even when he was exhausted after 5 days of teaching. He was tired. Here's my phone number, or he'd sit in class with them afterwards. So, yeah, he was enthusiastic about his professional life, but his enthusiasm went past that. It went into his personal life, of course. And I'll tell you a few things about Mickey, just some anecdotes that I'd just like to share. The first one, his sense of adventure, how much he loved being outdoors. He liked sailing, he liked kayaking, he liked hiking, anything where he could be out there and just take in nature. That brought him a lot of joy. I'll never forget this one time, the four of us, me and Joanna, Mickey and Kathy, we went to this place called Panther Creek. We decided we were going to go for a hike. And Mickey and I went out ahead, a little ahead, because we wanted to scout out the trail, make sure that, the girls could handle it. Don't hit me, Joanna. And we came to an obstruction. I don't remember if it was a log or a boulder. I don't remember what it was, but you had to choose. There were two paths that you could choose here to get around this obstruction. One of them was a higher, safer path, and the other one was a lower, riskier path. The higher, safer path was the long way. The lower, riskier path was the quick way. Now, knowing me and knowing Mickey, you would think Mickey took the high path and I took the low path, but on this particular day, our roles were reversed. Mickey took the more risky path, and I took the high path. And I couldn't believe my eyes. He almost fell. And it would have been catastrophic. But fortunately, there was a little tree, and as he grabs onto this tree, I'm way up here looking way down, seeing this, my heart's just, and he pulls himself back up onto that path, and he basically said, "Don't tell Kathy." But we laughed about it because that was one time when we were different from each other. We had switched roles there, and we laughed. We said, "Well, maybe I'm rubbing off on you," and he said, "Well, maybe I'm rubbing off on you." And so that was something. Another time, we were just at the house. This was after COVID, and we were now teaching online. And I can't remember how the subject came up, but I said, "Yeah, I really like cappuccino." It didn't have to say much more than that. And the next time he came for class, he had this beautiful, expensive espresso maker. And he said, "Here." And I was like, "Well, I can't take this. This is your espresso machine." He said, "I don't need it anymore. It's a gift." And I tried to give him some money for it because he had paid for it, but he just didn't use it anymore. And I mean, it was nice. And he said, "No way." He said, "I want you to enjoy it." So now every day, ever since then, every time I make our coffee in the morning, I think, Mickey. I don't want to go too long, but his most notable characteristic, in my opinion, was his love for the family. He was always talking about the kids. He was always talking about his grandkids. But who he talked about the most was Kathy. I think when we were talking about things that were not industry related, at least half of his sentences started with the word Kathy. They were at the heart and soul of everything he did. So you can probably figure already. Mickey's left it a lasting impression on me. He inspired me. He coached me. He's my friend. So I know that was all kind of morose, and I'm sorry, but what I do have to say is this. Today we're here to honor him. Let's not just honor his accomplishments, but let's honor his spirit. I mean, you think about the diligence and the curiosity and the fun and the humility he brought to everything. It's incredible. You don't meet people like that very often. And I think if we're going to celebrate anything and if we're going to remember anything, we should remember his laughter, the lessons he taught us, fierce loyalty, and his love. So here's to Mickey. The joy that he brought in walking new trails, both literal and figurative. Rest well, my friend.
Man, tough one. I want to open us up in a verse and a small explanation what it is, and then I'm going to talk about something about Mickey, and then a poem I wrote down. And I practiced this morning, and I got all the way through to the end. It ain't going to happen now. John 14, 1 through 3. Let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may be also. And basically that means Jesus reassures us that there is a place prepared for us in heaven where we can reunite with our loved ones. Mickey Lee. He was a legend, very intelligent, an awesome craftsman. His heart was bigger than him. When we were in a small group with him, his teaching was incredible. The knowledge he had of the Bible was amazing. We would get together once a month for coffee, a friendship. Myself, Mickey, Jeff, and Lamar. We would talk about life and anything we needed to pray for ourselves and anything that was going on with our families. We all could be so serious at that moment, and then we all could be laughing so hard that we'd be crying. Mickey loved when one of us had a project and needed help with it, figuring something out for it. You could see the computer in his head in motion. Mickey and the family, we have been friends for over 17 plus years. His personality was so contagious that the first time you would meet Mickey, he was like a brother to you. The movie nights that we had at Mickey and Kathy's, we had so much fun. And He loved Kathy and his family. We all talked about all of our families and that. His grandchildren, he loved them so much. He would be so excited and just smiles when he found out that Memphis was going to spend time with him and Kathy. Even though he's gone to be with Jesus, his legacy and love will remain with us. Mickey is with our Lord and Savior with a whole new perfect body. No more hearing aids anymore either. This is not goodbye, but till we see you again, Mickey. In a poem I wrote down, weep not for me, though I have gone into that gentle night. Grieve if you will, but not for long. Upon my soul's sweet flight, I am at peace, my soul's at rest. There is no need for tears, for with your love I was so blessed. For all those many years, there is no pain, I suffer not. The fear is now all gone. Put now these things out of your thoughts. In your memory I live on. Remember, not my fight for breath. Remember not the strife. Please do not dwell upon my death, but celebrate my life. And just a little thing in closing. The presence of pain does not mean the absence of God.
My name is Lamar Sibbett, and I met Mickey in around 2008, 2009. In the beginning, we were very friendly, and I sensed that Mickey was like a mentor. And so we were asked to do some mentoring to a group that's called the Three-Dimensional Life. So Mickey and I decided, well, we could do that. So we'll just go over a couple of days a week and mentor to the boys. So that's what happened. That's how we got to know each other and become very close. Mickey enjoyed mentoring the boys how to use a paintbrush, how to repair a faucet, how to just about do anything having to do with the chores that they had to do. So whenever we would go over, it was so long to get over there that we had to go have lunch before we'd go back home. So Mickey suggested a seafood place, and it's called Atlanta Seafood Company. And so part of the thrill of going over and coming back was we would have lunch at the Atlanta Seafood Company every time we went over. So that's how our relationship developed. And, he was very humorous. And so we got along really well and became very close. Some years after that, about 3 years after that, I took on this project of redoing our kitchen at our house. Now, knowing that Mickey's background was not only in reclaiming flooring or wood reclaiming, so I asked him if he would be willing to spoon feed me through redoing my kitchen. He said, sure. So I did the kitchen, and during that period of time, which took almost a year, I developed a name for Mickey, like I called him the sheriff. So whenever I would come in his garage, I would greet him as, "Hi, Sheriff." And so we developed even, more close, I should say, after that project, because like I say, it took a year. And during that year, I was amazed that Mickey was more than willing to, spend his time, his off time with me, drawing pictures of what I needed to do and helping me and that kind of stuff. And so, and then of course we talked a lot and became very good friends. I kind of believe that when someone is that close to you, you only get that maybe 5 times in your life, that you get a friend that's really a devoted friend, which he was. So anyhow, so whenever we would go to the Atlanta Seafood Company, she loved hot food and, seafood, hot seafood. So that was part of the bonding, that we would go to that. And then we eventually quit going over because it took 3 hours of travel time to go there and back. So we had time to go over, work a little bit, go to lunch, go back, work a little bit, and go home. Worked out fine. So, anyway, like I said, he enjoyed working with the boys, and so did I. So, but we decided that traveling was just too much. So we discontinued it, and besides that, they got to where they wanted us to do more than what they originally said. Like, can you work on a tractor? No, I can't work on a tractor. So, anyhow, so then, his friendship became more important than actually the kitchen. But we did make it through the developing the kitchen. And and during that time, Mickey, like he said, he would do movie night at his house. He would fix bags of popcorn for each couple that wanted to do the picture. So then Mickey was, I don't want to say maybe getting older has part of it, but he was seriously trying to do the work around the house and stuff, and he could tell he was getting older. He would only do the mornings, and so, which was fine. But anyhow, so we had one of those friendships that a guy really values on the long term, and that was Mickey. I think maybe I've had 3 in my life, and I'm 85 years old, and Mickey was part of it. So I certainly will miss the sheriff, but that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. So, like I say, I loved him like a brother, but since I didn't have a brother, so I enjoyed my time with him, and we did discuss not politics. So, but we just discuss anything else. So, anyhow. So anyway, I know when we was do the movies, Gail would make shrimp Creole, and he just loved her shrimp Creole. Hot sauce. So anyhow, I'm grateful for him being such a mentor for me in what I did. So these things we're going to miss. All of us are going to miss. So anyway, goodbye, Sheriff.
My name's Jeff Brethauer. I can't remember not having Mickey in my life, to be honest. It's been 20-plus years. I got to thinking about just all the different seasons we shared together, and there were several of them. First met him at our small group, and that's when the bond started, and it never really ended, so that's the positive thing. Think about that fact that during that time, one of the most memorable moments, my wife and I, we lost our only son. And Mickey was one of those that came alongside of us, along with the rest of our small group, and just loved on us. There aren't words to say when something like that happens, just being there. And that's the way he was. He spoke when he needed to, but he didn't speak all the time. Sometimes he was just there, and that's what I remember the most during those first years of getting to know Mickey. And that moved on to just another group that we shared together, and our church has a group called Renew, which helps you to dig into your past and understand how you've been doing life and identify areas where you may want to change and apply God's truth to your life so that you can just really reflect Christ in the way you do life. And that was one of Mickey's great loves, was his love of God, his love of faith, his desire to please God in every area of his life. And so I was privileged to share some long discussions with him about family and background and just things that he learned, things he regretted, and things that he grew from. And that's one thing about Mickey. We talk about how detailed he was in things. Well, he was also detailed in his faith, and that's key. And from that, we moved into another group. It seems like I couldn't get away from Mickey in these groups, but it was a good thing because definitely needed his presence. Then it was as Mickey was moving into that next season, leaving his formal employment and developing his own business and other things. We were in another group where we developed what was called a personal vision, learning to see not what we're retiring from, but what we're retiring to, and learning to join with God and what those things look like. And again, Mickey was so desirous of just being the man God wanted him to be. He didn't want to be anything else other than who God called Mickey to be. And I always loved that honesty about him. Just, I'm Mickey, just like you said. I'm Mickey Lee. And that's who he was, and he didn't want to be anybody else, and he shouldn't have been, and he wasn't. I think about that, and then that morphed into our current group, which was our coffee club, which Lamar and Rob, myself, and Mickey, we met for, I don't know, must have been 10 years. I don't know, once a month we'd meet, and we'd share life, we'd share encouragements, we would help each other. We tried to avoid politics. There were strong opinions, though. But again, just as I got to know Mickey over all these years and all these different environments and stuff, the thing that stuck out was his love. He loved God, he loved Kathy, he loved his family, and he loved his friends. And as I got to thinking about Mickey, the story that, and it's a true story that has meant a lot to me over the years, just kept coming to mind as I thought about Mickey. And it's a story about a man who was in the hospital and his days were getting near the end. And so he brought his family around him, and his wife came near him, and he says, "I thank you, wife, for being just an incredible life partner for me. You've been God's greatest gift. You've stood by me in all things. You helped raise our family in a godly way. I am so thankful for you. Good night." Then he brought his oldest son in, and he said, "Son, I am so proud of the way you're doing life, how you've raised your family in a godly way, how you've been very diligent to live an honorable life, and just, again, raise your children the way they need to be raised, and then you just brought honor to your mother and me." And he brought his daughter next to him. He said, "Daughter, again, I'm so proud of you. You've married a godly man. You've raised your children the way we've taught you to raise them. And I'm just so proud of you. Good night." Then his youngest son, he brought him up to him. He said, "Son, I love you with all of my heart. I'm just sorry that you have not chosen to live your life the way we've taught you. And I just wish that you'd taken hold of some of the things we tried to leave with you. You're very precious to us, and we wish you'd made different choices. Goodbye." The young son, after hearing that, said with a lot of anguish, "Why did you say goodbye to me and good night to everybody else?" He said, "Son, I'm going to see my wife, your mother, your brother and sister again in eternity. That's good night. But you, I'm not going to see again. That's goodbye." Well, fortunately, that got to the young man, and it caused him to turn his life around. And when I think of Mickey, I think of good night. And I think of the blessing of doing that cup of coffee, that next cup of coffee in eternity with my brother Mickey, whom I love so much. And I had a scripture come to mind actually this morning while I was in prayer that just made me think of just the change that's already occurred for Mickey. He's a new man already. "For we know that if the earthly tent, which is our house, is torn down, we have a building from God, a house not made with hands, but eternal in the heavens." I'm looking so forward to seeing Mickey in that day as he was always meant to be, my blessed brother. I love you, Mickey. Thank you.
Mickey's hat. Every time I saw him, he was wearing it. He wore it well. Told him he could have been a model for Tilly hats. And the guys that went before me, amazing words. And darn you for making me follow you. Because it's like, geez. I wanted to go first selfishly, just so their words wouldn't upset me. I think about some of the things they all said. Movie nights. Not just movie nights. When Mickey did movie nights, there had to be previews. Carol Burnett reruns. And I mean, whatever Mickey did, it was over the top. Absolutely over the top. Like Bruce said about rewriting the manual and being 100% satisfied with it, and then rewriting it until he got a level of perfection that only he could get. I'd like to thank everybody for being here today to honor the life that Mickey led. My name is Gavin. My wife Ruthie and I met Mickey and Kathy many years ago at a meeting for forming new small groups at Brownsbridge Church. I don't have a very good memory, but I remember two things from that day. They approached us. Mickey made an immediate impression on me with his enthusiasm, his energy, his outgoing personality, and his confident nature. He was the very definition of an extrovert, sociable, friendly, affable, and communicative. I also remember the Chef Kern's chicken as I had just taken a big bite, had my mouth full when Mickey approached. Mickey really liked it too, as I recall we discussed, and thus began our shared love of food. Since then, it's been a great journey with Mickey and Kathy, one riddled with potholes in all of our lives. Looking back, we had no idea it would be this brief and would end so suddenly. I was honored when Kathy asked me to say a few words. I was hoping she would, but I didn't know there would be an opportunity. At the same time, I'm not a speaker, a presenter, or a teacher, all of these things Mickey excelled at. So I hoped I could do him justice. I responded to Kathy in a text. I'll keep it under 40 minutes, just to mess with her. Her response was, I was thinking more like 10 minutes. I responded back, I was just kidding. I just want to let you know what Mickey had to endure all these years. It's been a very difficult journey the past week or so. We've all been looking desperately for a smile where we can find it. I also asked if Bruce would be speaking. She said, I'm planning to ask him. I told my wife I wouldn't want to follow Mickey or Bruce in speaking, as they're both professional presenters and speakers. And here I am. I also wondered, how do you summarize the life Mickey led in 10 minutes? In thinking of this, I thought there isn't much I could say that anyone here today wouldn't already know. And some of the things I'll mention, you would think that I was privy to Bruce, Rob, Lamar, and Jeff's notes, but I wasn't. I wanted to share with you, I thought that as Mickey touched so many lives, no matter how small the contact was, I saw it so many times. I wanted to share a letter that offered me comfort years ago. It was written by Ben Franklin to console his niece as she was grieving over the loss of her father, Ben's brother, John. She'd been grieving about a month at that point and was having a very difficult problem with the loss. Franklin's thoughts in this letter have offered myself and others I've shared it with a great sense of comfort and reassurance. I hope it'll do the same for you today. I've always been fascinated with the tremendous wisdom of Ben Franklin. I found the perspective in his writings are both fascinating and enlightening, but at the same time also very obvious once you think about what you've read. Franklin's brother John had passed away the previous month. I'm sharing this letter in its original form. Keep in mind it was written in 1756. I think this letter really summarizes what a privilege it is to have life here on earth as we know it, and how brief it really is. It also mentions how when someone leaves this world and their body, they leave the physical pains and suffering related to it, but that their soul carries on. I condole with you. We have lost a most dear and valuable relation, but it is the will of God and nature that these mortal bodies be laid aside when the soul is to enter into real life. Here on earth, we are rather in an embryo state, a preparation for real living. A man is not completely born until he be dead. Why then should we grieve when a new soul has entered into the immortal society? We are but spirits in bodies that are lent to us. While they can afford us pleasure, assist us in acquiring knowledge, or in doing good for our fellow man. You can imagine why I thought of Mickey when I read this. To have bodies is a kind and benevolent act of God. When they become unfit for this purpose, afford us pain, instead of an aid, become an encumbrance, and answer none of the intentions for which they were given, it is also a kind and benevolent act of God that a way is provided to get rid of them. Death is that way. We ourselves sometimes choose a partial death. He who plucks out a tooth parts with it freely, since the pain goes with it. He who quits the whole body parts at once with all the pains and diseases which it was liable to, or capable of making him suffer. Our friend and we were invited on a party of pleasure which is to last forever. His chair was ready first, and he has gone before us. We could not all conveniently start together, so why should you and I be grieved at this, since we are soon to follow and know where to find him? I bid you adieu, Ben Franklin. I want to read that last part again. Mickey's chair was ready first, and he has gone before us. A few years later, Franklin wrote to his sister, after only 2 siblings remained of the original 17. He wrote, "As our numbers diminish, let our affection for one another increase. For besides it being our duty, it is our interest, since the more affectionate relations are to each other, the more they are respected by the rest of the world. Mickey was a Christian, and he made it clear to anyone who knew him, not only with his extensive biblical knowledge and understanding of the same, but also how he acted and treated people he came into contact with daily, whether friends, family, co-workers, or strangers. He led by example. I saw it. Mickey was a dedicated husband. He truly loved Kathy. He set the example. I've been a great and faithful husband, a great provider, a great protector to his wife, Kathy. He loved her with all of his heart. He made it clear to her and others with the example of how he treated her. He delighted in doing something for her or taking her somewhere he knew she would like. September of this year will be 56 years since they got married, yet he treated her as though they were married last week. He would always brag on something she did or some great dessert she made. He put her on a pedestal and treated her as such. I saw it. Mickey was a proud and dedicated father that beamed with delight when you asked how John and Dana were doing or how Brandy and Jean were doing. His whole attitude would change, telling you about their latest accomplishments. I've never seen a more proud father who bragged on his now adult children. He was so amazed at how Brandy was such a great mom, was able to juggle it with a career as well. My wife and I got to witness what a great mom she was over the past few days. John and I have a shared interest in vintage cars, engines, Airstreams, and the like. Therefore, Mickey would constantly tell me of John's brilliant engineering mind and some of his recent accomplishments. We discussed often how John was both an artist and an engineer. Mickey and I went to visit John at work at the Airstream Restoration Shop to see some of his amazing projects and accomplishments. Mickey and I discussed how John quit his job to be a stay-at-home dad for a while with Memphis, and how he so quickly adapted and excelled at that as well. He was so proud of Brandy and John. I saw it. Mickey was a super proud grandfather, absolutely over the top excited about all the time he spent with Memphis, always looking for new ways to interact and engage with him, bragging on the latest new amazing thing he did at such a young age. He looked for ways to challenge Memphis's young mind. He was so excited to tell Ruthie and I about Bodie when they came back from Cleveland, meeting him. You ought to see the head of hair this kid has. I mean, you just picture Mickey doing that. He was so enthusiastic. True enthusiasm over his grandchildren I can't begin to express in words. I saw it. Mickey constantly helped others with projects, just like so many people have already touched on, doing lawns in his neighborhood, woodworking, advice on retaining walls, on and on and on. Mickey was an instructor, a teacher, an instructor by trade, but led a life principle of being a teacher of wisdom, of principles, of how you should treat others. He led by example. He was an amazing teacher of biblical teachings. When he taught our small group classes, there were handouts, presentations. You were pulled in to be involved. He had an ability to both teach and also make you think, figure it out along the way of your journey to understanding. You better be on your A game when he showed up. You were going to be involved and you were going to be challenged. Mickey was beyond generous. Some new tip, knowledge, food, soup, drink, or tool, he was always willing to share. And I can't remember who else shared their story about how generous he was, but everybody that had any encounter with him knew. Mickey was an accomplished sailor, previously owning and piloting he and Kathy's sailboat. At one point, he took the wheel of a large sailboat in Australia while he was there on business. He beamed when he told me the story. More than once, he told me the story of he and Kathy staying overnight on their sailboat on Lake Lanier during a full moon night. He recalled the magic of that night like it was yesterday. Mickey was a world traveler and had been to many, many, many countries in the world. He was an adventurer, a hiker. It was more than once I would call him and ask if he wanted to go on an adventure. Some were a couple of hours, some were 10 or 12 hours and covered many miles. He and I enjoyed many visits together to Gibbs Gardens. We would treat each other to lunch on our birthdays. That was some of my greatest memories. Mickey was a planner. He wanted to investigate and research a restaurant I would take him to in advance. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Lamar, I think Ruth and I were the ones that introduced him to that seafood restaurant. The one in Gainesville? Yeah. He would have to investigate and research a restaurant. He'd investigate everything. We joked, and I said, you know, if you told Mickey right now it was a beautiful day, he would have to go look out the window himself. He would not, I'll check that out for myself. But, so I just stopped telling him where we were going, which drove him crazy, didn't it, Kathy? But I never surprised him with a bad meal. He was a passionate diner. He really enjoyed good food. And the last time we ate our birthday meal together was back in April, and I took him for a burger at a place in Jasper, or Talking Rock, and he literally was moaning through eating that burger. He was a very, very passionate diner. He was a carpenter. Like everything he got into, he perfected his craft. He built many things over the years, including fine furniture. Mickey truly treasured your company with him. Even if Ruthie and I saw him several times a week, he always gave us a genuine extended hug with those big Popeye arms, told us he loved us, that he'd been praying for us both. With his strength from working out every single morning, the hug wasn't over until Mickey decided it was over. He had you. Even if he had not said a word, the hug would have said it all. You knew you were loved. He did the same thing for me each time we saw each other, no matter how brief or how many times a week. Even if I was dropping something off or he was dropping something off, I never hesitated telling him I loved him at the end of each visit. And when I would say, I love you, brother, I would get that signature Mickey smile. Mickey always offered to help. I enjoyed working with Mickey and regret that I didn't spend more time and learn more. I always felt guilty accepting his help, as I didn't feel like I could adequately return the favor. Mickey was an amazing and passionate cook. For years, I had planned to learn some of his soup-making abilities. If you were lucky enough to experience these soups, you know they could have been served in high-end restaurants. He spent hours making the broths. He was very generous to share them. I never made the time to learn this from him and sorely regret it. Mickey was physically and mentally strong. I made the comment to his son John the other day, as long as I knew Mickey, I never really knew how tall he was or he wasn't. Because once anyone met him, you only saw him as a strong man, both mentally and physically. I said to John, how did someone so short set the bar so high for the rest of us? Mickey told me more than once he actually wasn't short. It's just that everyone else was too tall. And he'd flash that signature Mickey smile. It was a very mischievous smile. And when I would see it, I couldn't help but my mind would wander back to the stories he told of the antics he and his brothers would pull when young. They were truly, from what I heard, they were truly a bunch of Dennis the Menaces, their own little rascal gang. He had a similar comment in reference to him being left-handed. You right-handed people have the world laid out for you. Being left-handed, I'm working with a handicap on certain tools and other things. Yet he still excelled at everything he put his mind to. Mickey could seemingly figure out and do anything. His mind was a true engineering mind, no matter what the task or if he had previous experience with it. He was highly organized. Anyone that has seen his lawn shed or wood shop would attest to this. He was highly disciplined. Exercise was one of the disciplines he was serious about. He diligently worked out every morning, then worked in his yard on projects until the heat of the day kicked in. His shoulders and arms were solid as a rock. Mickey had laser focus when on a project. If you asked him a question about how to do something or sent him pictures of something, his response was always the same: "I need to come see it." He didn't want to hear your take on it or what you were planning to do. He wanted to see what the project was. Don't mess with his process. And when he dug into something, he tuned the world out around him and zeroed in. You might as well not say anything else, because he would tune you out while the mind was processing. I think Rob touched on this. As he processed, he would ask questions. Don't interject extra information other than answering the question. It would interfere with the whole engineering process. Don't ask me how I know. Mickey was a rock. He was such a presence, with him having 100% of his mind and in very, very good physical condition. And because of this, I had the illusion of thinking he would always be here, or at least there was no signs or indications he would not be here for a long time to come. And with this said, Mickey truly went out with his boots on. Living life, loving others, strong physically, and 100% cognitive till this happened. I will always remember him for the strong person he was. I know you will too. With many health issues with Ruthie and myself, there were many a dark day in our house. I certainly fell short of being as good a friend to him as he was to me, but he never gave up on me and constantly showed grace. I made the mistake of thinking I would catch up, things would get better with our health, and once we got past the next hurdle, I could spend more time with him. This should be a lesson that there are no tomorrows to get things right and do things as you know they should be done. Mickey always made time. If you had a question, "Hey, I can run over now," would be his response. And in most cases, it wasn't necessary, but he always went above and beyond. Besides all the things I mentioned, they are all important to me, very important, I'll absolutely be the most grateful for the love and support he showed my wife, Ruthie, during her ongoing health struggles. Her neurological issues began August 2015. Over the past few years, we have come to live a very isolated life. But Mickey and Kathy have always been there with 100% support. Ruthie and I discussed a couple of days ago that there were very few people in this world that we knew loved us, but we were both absolutely assured Mickey loved us both. She always felt comfortable around them both. The kindness, the prayers, the support, and his signature Mickey hugs will never be matched nor forgotten. Mickey was a rock. I saw it. Hey, Bruce, I wonder if I could ask you to do me a favor. Could you step up here for a moment? Would you do me the honor of reading the remaining part from here down? I think you could do a better job of it than me. I'm sorry to put you on the spot like this. We did not discuss this.
You don't mean all of this, do you?
Just this
Okay,
and this right here.
okay.
I'm sorry to put you on the spot like this, brother. I appreciate it.
I'll give it a go. This from Gavin. Mickey was a friend. To say he was a friend was a huge understatement. He was a friend that loved unconditionally, understood the hurdles Ruthie and I were going through health-wise, loved us unconditionally, showed us grace and patience during some of my darkest days, and there were many of those days. I didn't grow up with a father, and although Mickey was only 12 years older than me, he was truly the closest thing I ever had to a father. Anytime I talked to him about recent health issues we had, but there were no answers for, he'd say, "What can I do? How can I help?" He would emphasize it. What can I do to help? And many of those times he would drop off soup for us. He couldn't fix the problems, but He let us know he prayed for us, loved us, and could provide us with the warmth of an amazing meal. He was the ultimate loving, helping, grace-giving friend. I saw it. I felt it. There are so many more stories Gavin could share, but time is limited. I know each of you have your own. If you only take away two things today, let one of them be, on a daily basis, to act and treat others, to set the example that Mickey did. Be someone's Mickey. The more important thing to take away today is to not forget Kathy when today is over. Her journey will be beyond difficult going forward. Treat, help, and love on her like Mickey would have done for you if you had lost your spouse. Mickey made quite an impact on each of our lives, but he knew Kathy for more than 56 years. Think about the impact he had on her life. Collectively, we should be able to help each other, and more importantly, help her get through this till we see him again. Thank you, Gavin. I think, did you want me to read the last part here? Okay.